the game that she loved to play with me when I came home with a big problem, where I was mad at somebody. She didn't have the list that she could tick off.
The high bar was set by Rachel Zegler on the first day of casting, and I just kept looking and looking and looking, and she was the bar that no one reached. No one could reach as high as Rachel reached that first.
Okay, so congratulations, you guys. What an amazing feat. 2 years in the making. How does it feel to be here?
I mean, feels like it shouldn't be allowed, that we should still be keeping it a secret, but we're very excited to shout it to the world, I think.
Hollywood is no stranger to drama. In fact, it's practically baked into the studio walls. But every so often, a behind-the-scenes storm brews that's so potent, so rife with ego clashes and PR disasters, it takes on a life of its own. Enter Rachel Zegler, the once celebrated newcomer who skyrocketed from obscurity to center stage in Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. She was hailed as the next big thing, and now she's the poster child for how quickly a rising star can fall from grace, with none other than Spielberg himself, rumored to have had more than just a few words about working with her.
Was I surprised? I wasn't. I was shocked, but I wasn't surprised, because if you have peripheral vision, you're going to sense these things out of the corner of your eye. You can't not know that this has been going on rampantly.
Let's rewind to the fairy tale beginning. Rachel Zegler's story starts like something out of a millennial Cinderella reboot. A viral audition clip lands her the lead role of Maria in Spielberg's West Side Story remake, a golden ticket from one of the most powerful directors in cinema.
A casting notice for Steven Spielberg's remake of West Side Story,
the musical.
Anyways, I got this notice in my Snapchat DMs that said, "Remember me when you're famous," and I was like,
Oh my god, I have to audition.
So I sat down immediately, filmed my audition, emailed it, sent them my resume, my headshot, videos of my past performances, and this unlisted YouTube video of me auditioning for Maria in a film. Then I woke up the next morning, I was like,
Oh my god.
who do I think I am? Who do I think I am?
Critics were in awe. The public swooned. Here was a bright-eyed high schooler catapulted onto the global stage, personally chosen by Spielberg out of thousands of hopefuls. It was a dream. And for a moment, Rachel Zegler was Hollywood's favorite dream girl. She gave charming interviews. She talked about her disbelief at being discovered. She showed gratitude, excitement, and the kind of authenticity that had fans rooting for her. She was raw, talented, and ambitious. But even in those early days of praise and standing ovations, there were whispers, not from the tabloids or Twitter trolls, but from within the very production that made her a star. According to multiple insiders, Rachel Zegler may have been talented, but she was also challenging. Reports from crew members on West Side Story suggest the young starlet was unusually opinionated for a first-time actor. What began as simple creative disagreements allegedly spiraled into full-blown production delays. Choreographers were said to have clashed with Rachel over dance sequences. Costume designers reportedly fielded frequent complaints about how certain outfits didn't align with her character, or worse, didn't flatter her figure. At first, it was dismissed as youthful exuberance, but then it kept happening. And this wasn't just idle gossip. Spielberg, a director known for fostering young talent with a gentle, mentoring hand, reportedly found himself navigating more than just directorial choices. He was managing personality friction. Zegler was said to question camera angles, challenge lines of dialogue, even debate editing decisions. Yes, editing, before the film was even wrapped.
As an actor, you don't get to dictate anything. You don't get to dictate if a film actually happens. You don't get to dictate when it is shot, how it is shot, if you can ever speak about it to the public. You are simply just there to show up and say your lines and look the way they want you to look.
Now, to be fair, confidence is essential in an industry where everyone wants a say, but few get one. But for a newcomer to challenge the decisions of Steven Spielberg, that's not just bold. It's a move that turns heads and raises red flags. Spielberg has worked with some of Hollywood's biggest child stars. Drew Barrymore, Christian Bale, the list goes on. And those collaborations were famously harmonious. But with Zegler, the tone was different. The tension was palpable. As West Side Story neared completion, early test screenings showed promise. Rachel's voice and screen presence were undeniable. Audiences praised her. Spielberg stayed gracious in public, but behind closed doors, the temperature was rising. According to an insider, Spielberg allegedly branded Rachel as horrible to work with, a phrase that, in Tinseltown, hits harder than any bad review. And while the director never publicly confirmed this, the silence itself became deafening. Spielberg didn't rush to her defense. He didn't counter the gossip. Instead, he seemed to strategically pivot attention elsewhere, lavishing praise on co-star Ariana DeBose while offering only minimal obligatory compliments to Zegler. Suddenly, fans and industry observers began rewatching press tours and red carpet interviews with a new lens. Were those awkward smiles and stiff body language signs of deeper drama? Still,
Never let anybody tell you you can't do what you in your heart know you can.
We are. Look, I don't really like the term woke because I think it's an umbrella term that I'm not 100% sure I even know what it means, and one could argue that sometimes it's used too liberally. That said, our primary purpose is to entertain, and where we can entertain responsibly, obviously we try to do that. We try to have a positive impact on the world, but the first thing we need to do is entertain.
Rachel landed the lead in Disney's Snow White remake, a $250 million passion project meant to secure her A-list status. Instead, it became her cinematic crucifixion. From the moment the production was announced, the film was marred by controversy. Disney's decision to modernize the story by removing traditional elements like the dwarves and prince drew ire, but it was Rachel's own commentary that poured gasoline on the fire. In a series of interviews, Zegler called the original Snow White creepy and dismissed the prince as a stalker.
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again. I watched it for the first time in probably 17 years.
And the original production, I was scared of it. Oh, it was so weird. It was a stalker. Like, I feel like if you are taking on the most iconic Disney role ever, genuinely, like this was the most prolific Disney film, I feel like you should kind of have some sort of reverence for the original production.
These weren't just throwaway lines. They struck at the heart of what generations of Disney fans cherished. The backlash was instant and brutal. Memes erupted, hashtags trended. Disney loyalists were furious, not only at the studio, but at the very actress who was supposed to embody a beloved fairy tale character. By the time Snow White hit theaters, the damage was irreversible.
It's the most emotional experience that a person can go through to know that what they're working on is something that has reached a generation of people.
The film bombed, and Zegler's name was dragged through every headline about its failure. Critics panned her performance as lifeless. Audiences felt alienated. Disney executives reportedly held emergency meetings to unpack what had gone so catastrophically wrong. Spoiler, the fingers pointed squarely at Zegler. Instead of embarking on a classic damage control tour, apologies, tearful interviews, a few self-deprecating tweets, Rachel doubled down.
Saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true.
In one baffling moment, she suggested that the failure of Snow White might have been due to audience excitement over the upcoming Minecraft movie. Yes, Minecraft. As if a pixelated game adaptation overshadowed Disney's flagship remake. The internet had a field day. Memes of Steve from Minecraft stomping on Disney princesses went viral. The attempt to deflect blame became a joke, and Zegler's credibility tanked further. But perhaps the most damning silence of all came from Spielberg. Once again, he remained mute. No statement of support, no kind words to soften the rumors, no subtle social media nod to suggest he still believed in the young actress he once plucked from obscurity. And in Hollywood, silence speaks louder than a press release. If Spielberg isn't standing by you, especially after you've tanked a $250 million Disney film, the message is clear. You're radioactive. Insiders began murmuring about the blacklist effect. Studios started to back away. Executives reportedly removed her from consideration for upcoming roles. Agents started distancing themselves. The calculus was simple. If Spielberg regretted working with her, why would anyone else risk it? In an industry where relationships and reputations are everything, Zegler's appeared to be unraveling at breakneck speed. Now, let's be clear. No one has produced a tape of Spielberg saying the exact words, "I'll never work with her again." But when someone with his power chooses silence, when he actively highlights everyone around you and skips over your name, that's Hollywood code for "we're done here." People began combing through old interviews like detectives. They noted how Spielberg praised DeBose with words like mesmerizing, while only passively acknowledging Zegler's talent. They spotted how his tone shifted in later press events, how he seemed less animated when discussing Maria's character, how the once gushing mentor turned almost mechanical. Was it reading too much into things? Maybe, or maybe not. What's undeniable is that Spielberg, who has a long history of mentoring young actors to superstardom, chose not to advocate for the actress he once anointed as a breakout star. And when someone with his credibility steps back, the rest of the industry listens. So where does that leave Rachel Zegler? Well, she's at a crossroads. A Hollywood career doesn't end because of one bad film or one difficult shoot. But when the combination of ego, backlash, and bad optics pile up, and when the director who discovered you quietly turns his back, that hill to climb becomes a mountain. There's a chance for redemption. Always is. This town loves a comeback just as much as it loves a scandal. But that path is narrow, and it demands a rare combination of humility, rebranding, and accountability. A few indie hits, a thoughtful apology, maybe even a new mentor willing to take a gamble. That could shift the narrative. But the clock is ticking, and Rachel's window may be closing faster than she realizes. The story of Rachel Zegler isn't just about one actress. It's about the machine. The way Hollywood elevates fresh faces to impossible heights, then just as quickly feeds them to the wolves when things go south. It's a tale of ambition, clashing egos, and the brutal reality of working in an industry where perception is everything. Because in the end, this isn't just about whether Rachel was difficult to work with or whether Spielberg really called her horrible. It's about how quickly fortunes change when the spotlight shifts. One moment, you're the golden girl, handpicked by a legend. The next, you're the cautionary tale directors whisper about behind studio doors. And in Hollywood, sometimes it's not the loud accusations that kill your career. It's the quiet, the polite distance, the praise that never comes. That's how you know the industry has moved on. Will Rachel Zegler write a new chapter, or has the curtain already closed? Only time will tell.